What's up? Seth Mosley here. We're on the Made It in Music podcast with my friend, music publisher Chris Oglesby. I'm going to give him the proper introduction here in a second. It is long. He has accomplished a lot in the industry, so you're going to want to stick around for the entire episode. But before we jump in, if you've been listening to the Made It in Music podcast for a while and haven't listened to our deep dives, you are missing out. You should definitely check them out. Deep dives are basically pieces of bonus content for all of you super fans out there who want to learn even more from our podcast guests. To check out this exclusive content, head over to madeitinmusic.com. Our guest today is Chris Oglesby. Chris, who joined BMG in 2013, has more than 3 decades of experience in the music industry, including time at Almo/Irving Music, where he signed Grammy Award winner Craig Wiseman, and BMG Music Publishing, where he spent more than a decade working with the songwriters behind hits such as Check Yes or No by George Strait, Young by Kenny Chesney, and Born to Fly by Sara Evans. And that's not all. Chris also pursued his own venture, Oglesby Writer Management, as a part of 19 Entertainment, along with managing the careers of developing and established songwriters, including Rodney Crowell and Dan Crouch. Chris became instrumental in developing the career of Carrie Underwood. His ties with 19 Entertainment remained strong after his company became independent in 2010, producing #1 hits with Kip Moore's Something About a Truck and Jake Owen's Alone With You. And most recently, BMG announced his promotion to the post of Senior Vice President of Creative, the lead creative publishing role in BMG Nashville's office. I'm so excited to see what we're going to learn from Chris today. Chris, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks so much, Seth, for having me. I'm a big fan of yours. I love it when our writers can get together with you and create the magic that happens in that room right over there. So thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Man, well, hey, it's my honor. I everything in the intro, you've got quite a career in the music business. So I'm excited for me just to learn and glean from your years of experience in it.
Well, glad to help in any way I can. It's when you say 3 decades, that's a long time,
It's a while.
But the great thing about it is I've been in it that long, but I really only had to work probably 5-6 days. All the rest has just been absolute blast, and
That's pretty good.
I love it. I just love what I get to do every day for a living.
So you're a believer in if you do a job you love, you never work a day in your life?
I have, well, like I said, probably 5. But no, I get up every morning looking forward to the day and waiting for that 5 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, knock on my door when a writer says, hey, you need to come down here and check this out. And it's just some of the most magical, memorable moments that I've had in the business, and I love it. I love it.
So good. I want to hear all about that, but I want to rewind and ask, how did you get started in the music industry?
I grew up singing gospel music with my family, and my dad was a minister, and we spent every weekend and all summer singing and traveled or went around with an evangelistic team that had a 3-pole tent. And they would set this tent up and preach sermons and draw chalk drawings, and our family would sing. And so we traveled a lot in the summer. And so through college and high school and college, I continued to sing. And so I moved down here thinking I would be an artist, and but discovered music publishing, and it was there was no turning back after the bug bit me, I guess. So
yeah, that's awesome. So who was the first artist that cut a song that you pitched? Do you remember that?
I think it was Susie Bogus. There was a John. No, it was a Nancy Griffith song that I had sent and played, and she ended up cutting it.
So what was the story behind that? Like, do you remember what kind of happened surrounding that first cut? I mean, it had to be a big deal at the time.
I don't know, because it just kind of happened without any pomp or circumstance. And it was one of those things where I'm beginning just to develop relationships in the business. And it's like, I mean, check these songs out. Here's some cool things. And I was digging in deep in the Almo Irving catalog and trying to learn as much as I could from David and Mary Del Frank. So, like I said, there wasn't any pomp or circumstance, but a lot of my time I would call my friends who were wanting to be producers and say, come over if you've got an artist after 5:30, because I was making tape copies. I'll play you some songs, and maybe you'll hear something that will work for your artist to get them a record deal, get you in the studio doing what you want to do. So there was a little network of us that kind of worked together like that, and it worked out well on a couple of occasions, you know, for them.
That's
more.
awesome.
But,
So let's start with the basics. For people out there who don't know, what is a music publisher? What does a music publisher do?
in a nutshell, a music publisher finds writers to sign to an agreement, and those writers will begin writing songs for that publishing company, and then the publisher's job is to find homes for those songs or artists to sing them, and that's it in a nutshell. The role has grown and morphed in different ways through the years, but generally speaking, that's it. I take our writers' songs and try to land them on a Keith Urban record, or Kenny Chesney, or anybody else.
Yeah.
So.
And another big part of the role nowadays that I don't know, maybe you can speak to this, but I don't know if this has always been part of the role, but a big part now is managing the writer calendar and booking co-writes, which, a lot of the time you're trying to get writers in the room with the artists. Is that a newer part of it, or has that been since the beginning?
No, back when I started, all the writers kept their own calendars, and I had those big, things, books. I don't even know what you call them, calendars that you would open up, and I would just write in there. I had one for every writer, and what they were doing and who they were writing with, and occasionally I would have an idea of like, man, you should write with this person, and then I would try to help facilitate that. But once they did it, then they would be on the phone with that co-writer saying, we need to get some more days and put them back in the books and stuff. But now, and I try to encourage my writers to do that now, because it can be a little bit of an overwhelming task to keep all of that together and confirm things and stuff. So.
Yeah. No, I know from our experience with, especially with, Stacy, who runs our publishing, it can be a full-time job, just keeping writers' calendars straight and organized and moving a session and getting this person in with this person. So I think you hit on a really important point, that the publisher's best friend is a writer that when you make the introduction, they can build the relationship and they keep it going. Yeah,
and it's all about that relationship. If I keep putting things in a writer's calendar that they don't enjoy, or there's not that good creative connection, I'm wasting everybody's time. And so I always like to have that feedback from our writers of, man, this day was awesome. This day, not so much. It's not going to change my perspective of who they're talking about. I just know that that's not a good creative fit, or the personalities don't gel, or, from as much writing and creative work together that you do, if you're not looking forward to seeing somebody walk through the door, just because you have a bit of a rub, it doesn't matter if they're the most successful writer on the planet, probably not going to generate some good songs.
Yeah, it's got to be fun.
Yeah.
People get confused a lot between publishers and A&R. What? How would you explain, somebody who didn't know what it was? What's the big difference?
I think the For me anyway, you could ask that question to a lot of people and get a lot of different answers. But for me, the big difference is the publisher digs in way early on into the song to try to help the writer have that song be the best that it can be. A&R works more on the artist side and helping a writer get a vision out there. They work with the artist, the producer, then they go out in the publishing community and look for songs that help convey what that artist wants to say and what they want to do. So I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yeah, so the publisher is generally the one that would be pitching to the A&R.
Generally speaking, and the one going, man, I love this idea, but I don't think the second verse is saying what you mean for it to say. It's hitting me a little different this way. And so we just have good dialogue about those kinds of things. Because sometimes writing, you get so close to it, and you get so close to the song, you know everything in your head, and sometimes a line can be taken a couple different ways, and you never realize it until somebody who doesn't know or not in there hears it.
Yeah, and to be fair, a lot of the time A&R, they're functioning in a similar role, where they're going through songs, maybe not as in the weeds like you were talking about. Mm-hmm. Some A&Rs are, it just depends on who the person is. But what is the, as a publisher, you've been doing this for a long time, mm-hmm. People are always wondering, okay, as a songwriter, how do I get my songs cut? Like, is it as simple as just having a relationship with an A&R person, or what is the process that generally happens, behind the scenes to get a song actually placed on an artist's record?
That is an evolving thing, because I think you have to take each artist, each label, each producer, everything on its own merit, because what works to get on one record might not work to get on another. Mm-hmm. And so some artists have independent help on the A&R front that just look for songs, and sometimes that's maybe the best way to go. Sometimes it's through the label. Sometimes it's straight to the producer or the artist themselves. So many times now it's about getting in the room with the artist to write the song. And I've always been the guy saying, to me, that's overrated, because the only thing you're guaranteed is that the artist will hear the song.
Yeah.
But so many songs now are written by the artist, and I've had to adjust my thinking, from when I started to the way things function and operate now.
Yeah. So. I mean, I feel like, and it's probably different in different genres. And I think in country in particular, A-list artists especially, they still recognize, okay, a good song's a good song. Doesn't matter who wrote it. Mm-hmm. The Keith Urbans and the Tim McGraws and,
Right.
In pop and in other genres, I would venture to say it's probably 90% of the time what you said, where the artist has to be on it, otherwise they're not going to cut it.
Right.
So as a publisher, have there been any kind of strategies, tactics, reframing the way you do business that's sort of evolved with that?
Just trying to do a deep dive into a particular artist camp. I'll sit down with our writers, and we'll talk about their strengths as a writer and who are the artists that fit into what they do. Because if you look at a writer's body of work, a typical kind of song comes to mind. Like if I were to say James Taylor, certain kind of song, or Diane Warren, or Paul Williams. They do a certain kind of song. Not that they can't do a lot different, but the core, the heart and soul of who they are is in this area. And so I try to learn that with each of my writers and keep them in their strength zone, doing what they do best while trying to press the boundaries. So we'll look at the artist where those songs go for us, So like they typically write George Strait kind of things. So that touches on this artist and this artist, and so we'll just move them around and try different things writing wise to make those artist rights happen, and then try to plug them into that artist camp. So
That's good, really good answer. In your opinion, what is the point where a songwriter should start getting in contact with a publisher and think about maybe having those meetings or submitting songs or working with a publisher?
Boy, that is a tough one because it's a full-time job. I had somebody ask me one time, of all of the writers that you've worked with, is there a common denominator in them, the ones that have been successful? And the answer to that question, it took me a minute, but they all work hard. Craig Wiseman works harder than anybody. The guy makes coffee in the morning and sets the alarm at night. And he's there every day, all day, putting in the time, trying to make words work together in a way that is uniquely him and in a way that are accessible to a lot of people. And so, but all of them, they work really hard. So I think a writer who's looking to get a publishing deal has to ask themselves, can they do that? Are there songs written in a way where you can say I love you without saying I love you? And it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter whether they're demoed or guitar vocals. I get asked that question so many times, but you just have to do what's best for the song. I would think in the beginning stages, guitar vocals work best because especially today, if you do a demo on a song and it's not right sonically, it can have a hugely negative impact on a song because people will hear it differently.
Yeah. That's so well said. So there can be many times when, that guitar vocal, it leaves room for the artist's imagination to envision their band or their sound or the producer to hear their sound on it. So the thing I would say and add to that is there are bad guitar vocals and there are good guitar vocals.
Yes.
Like would you say that it's still really important to have a good singer to present the demo in a good light?
I don't know. Yes, that always helps. But there again, not to keep using Craig as an example, but probably not the best singer in the world. You know?
Yeah, in technical terms, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But nobody delivers his song in the pocket or with the heart or in a way that works with the track better than him because he knows them. And I remember early on we tried, let's get this singer because people were having trouble hearing through his vocal and we just ended up back with him. They just felt better and worked better in the long run. So I would say whatever feels like works best for. That's just such a lame answer, but
no,
it's so true.
It's case by case.
Yeah.
So would you say, of the writers that you've worked with over the years, do you find that the ones who are able to deliver their own songs and sing their own demos have an advantage in that sense?
I think so, because you're not trying to have to convey an emotional aspect to what you've written to a demo singer. You just get in there and you sing it. And so many people, Craig or Luke or Bobby Hamrick or James Slater or anybody, they're all very stylistic singers. And so you have to know, if you're going to get somebody else, which song to put them on. And the other thing I've noticed is, while you can have trouble early on with someone's vocal, their tone or their style or whatever, if they get a couple of hits, people start hearing through that a little better. I don't know what that is, but...
Meaning they know it was a song that Craig wrote, even though it might not be sonically the most pleasing vocal, they know it's a Craig song, so they kind of hear it a little differently.
Yeah, I think so. I think they infer a lot, or maybe it's just the fact that now they've been doing it so long that people are used to it. I don't know the answer to that, but I know vocals have a tendency to steer people one way or another. They can sometimes.
One of the big questions that always comes up, especially when people are in music business school or reading, Donald Passman's books or any of that stuff is, why would a writer want to, quote, give up their publishing or sign their publishing as opposed to keeping it for themselves?
Because we were talking earlier about team, and this is a relationship business, and you have to have connections within the business. And so I feel like a writer, when he finds the person sitting across the table from him that has the same vision and goals as him, that writer can take all of their gifts and strengths and combine them with this publisher's contacts and business thing. They each can focus on what they do best, and then when they lock elbows or lock hands, it's hard to pull that apart, and so each one is going to make the other one better. James Slater makes me a better publisher every day. He challenges me to get outside my comfort zone and do things I might not normally do. And then I feel like, you'll have to ask him, but I feel like I challenge him too to maybe take a little bit more laid back approach or look at a song differently or whatever. But
is there any story or example that kind of comes to mind with that, whether it's in respect to James or any of the writers that you've been able to work with?
I can't think of a specific thing, but I know with every one of them, I have learned so much. And some of the deals have worked out great, and some of the deals haven't. And even in the ones that haven't worked out the way that we had hoped that they would, I've learned a lot. And I remember I signed a friend of mine, Dan Couch, who wrote something about a truck, and one of the first things I did, and it was a massive mistake, and but it was like, okay, Dan, you're in the big leagues now, and all those people you used to write with, they're gone. We're going to get you in this lane and this lane, and so while I feel like my thinking and my intent was good, what I felt like I did was rip his security blanket away from him and not give him a sense of safety and comfort and all those things he's learning writing with people like Craig or other writers who have been in the business a while. He was not able to exercise those things in a comfortable place, and so it really challenged me to look at the way I approach things with setting up writers' calendars and things like that. So that's the one that comes to mind the most.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I think that's a good point, because a lot of writers have this perception, especially when they are thinking about signing to a company like BMG or any of the other majors for that matter. I think they think that there's going to be a switch that just flips overnight, and a lot of the times it's more that you kind of especially when you're new, you're still building your own camp, like you're building your people, and so just because somebody's brand new doesn't mean that they're not capable of greatness, right?
Yeah, and I think everybody, and I'm mostly when I'm talking about writers that haven't had a deal.
Yeah.
But you're right. Most everybody who gets signed for the first time to a publishing deal, they immediately think their songs have gone from here to here. But they're the same person and they're the same writers. And many times I've tell people our goal in this first year, it's not about getting cuts. It's about making the songs better, building a foundation that you can build a whole career on, and getting better as a writer. And because they come in and they're competing with the Ashley Gorleys and the Hillary Lindsays and the Craig Wisemans, and they're all after the same song. So I feel, and most of the time they don't hear me. They go, "I'll show him."
Yeah.
And but after a while they start to get it and understand it and things. So,
would you say that it's a common misconception for people who are breaking into the business, like just the sheer amount of songs that they have to write? Like, I think often, I mean, even when I was starting out, I can remember looking at these guys who are writing hundreds of songs a year or whatever. Like, it just doesn't register in people's minds how much you have to be doing it.
It's unbelievable. I mean, if you look at it, and this is kind of the way I look at it, it's a 10% game. And that if you can get 10% of what you do to have an impact on your career, you're going to be in a very good spot. And whether it's writing a song that gets you a publishing deal or writing a song that gets you a #1 record, if you can get 10% of it to work, you'll be great. And there's not many jobs you can have that a 10%
Right.
ratio.
100 batting average.
Yeah, right. Is but songs are written for all kinds of reasons, and sometimes they're meant to be #1 records, and sometimes they're written just to get to the next song. And I feel like that's the number.
Yeah.
That's the number.
And I hope people hear that and just, we talk about it a lot, and I guess the ratio probably is different for every writer, probably different for every publisher, I imagine. But the point is you have to write a lot of songs to get to the good ones, to get to the ones that'll actually get cut.
And that's not, that 10% is not true for everybody.
Yeah.
I've got to meet, or I've met Sonny Throckmorton, who wrote The Way I Am and a bunch of classic songs. And we were sharing stories actually he was sharing stories. I was listening and learning. And he was talking about back when he came to town and started having success. He was writing second verses on the way to the studio to give to somebody. And I asked him what he thought his percentage was. And it was a different day and age, but it was more in the neighborhood of 80% of what he was writing was finding getting cut.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
I mean, nowadays,
no,
you're not seeing. And well, there's just I think a lot more people after the same song, like you were saying.
Yeah, yeah.
So of the writers that you work with and that you've worked with over the years, who achieve that success, how many songs would you say a year they're turning in?
I worked with a guy for a long time, Bobby Hamrick. It was, I think he turned in 155, 60 one year. it varies for everybody, but I would say 40 maybe. I don't even know. That's a good question. I'm gonna have to figure that one out.
Sure.
Because we look at them in percentage was, so if you co-write one, that's a half a song.
Sure.
But just whole songs delivered, pitchable, I don't know, it could be as high as 60.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, again, for a lot of people, they're not willing to do the work to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
what does your process look like nowadays for finding and signing new songwriters?
I still rely on we have an incredible team of people at BMG, and they're out all the time. But I still find people out at writers' nights through word of mouth from other people. I have a great relationship with a lady named Barbara Cloyd, and she will call me every once in a while and say, I've heard this person, I think you will like them. And so I'll reach out to them, and so it's different on different, you find them different ways. So,
yeah, that's awesome. Is it often a specific song that will convince the publisher to sign the writer, or is it more about the relationship?
It's a combination of both. And I will tell you, in most of the ones that I've signed, it's not even the song. It's lines in songs. It's the way they rhyme words, or they use internal rhymes, or I remember hearing Luke Laird for the first time, and I don't even remember the song, but it was the way he rhymed the word weather, and he wrote it all by himself, and you could see that thing show up in his other songs. Same with Craig. Oh my gosh, how'd you think of that right there, that one line? And it would show up in all of these songs that he had written. So it's different with everybody.
So it's almost more of a DNA, like a writer DNA.
Yeah. Yeah, you hear that thing that just gets your juices flowing, and then you sit down with those people and see how this goes. Do we connect creatively? Are we going to the same place? And if you feel that and that trust level comes in, you have a match made in heaven, I think, in many cases. Yeah. And so it can be an amazing connection when that writer and that publisher find each other.
So you've been with BMG for a while, and again, congrats on the promotion.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about BMG and what makes you guys unique in the Nashville publishing landscape?
I'm so excited about BMG and the opportunity there. This is my second go around with BMG, and the thing that I love the most is that I feel like we're uniquely placed in the marketplace. We're a small company that's very independent-minded, but at the same time, we're global, we're big, and we have opportunities that can be limited to a major company. And the thing that I love about them is the synergistic mindset that the company has. We have weekly calls with our LA office about what they have going on, what they're working on. And I just, on the way over here, I talked with the guy who does all of our Latin stuff. And so there's that on the actual publishing side. There's the label aspect of BMG and getting that together, and because I feel like those artists on that label are my responsibility, whether we publish them or not. How do I help them? How do they help us? How do we engage on a creative level on the writer label side. And then there's a management component of BMG as well that has proved to be unbelievably helpful to some of our writers. And it's been an encouraging thing to see that work together in a way that moves the bar for a writer.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
I just feel like, we can dig in deep on a personal level like an independent, but yet we can pull in these global people from Australia or Germany or London or wherever, and think outside the box and move in a quick, strategic kind of way that can identify a path for a writer or an artist that's uniquely them.
So good. Well, yeah, you touched a little bit about, BMG obviously as a company is very vast, very global, in nature. So many genres, pop world, Latin world, country world, all of the above. How do you approach that sort of pathfinding or waymaking, a writer finding their lane? Do you encourage people to really just kind of hunker down and like, hey, you're a country writer, stick to that, master it? Or do you encourage people to be a little more, well-rounded, I guess would be a good way to put it?
That's the other area I think where my thinking has changed. Early on it was like, no, stay in your lane, do your thing, make sure your grass and your lawn is mowed and looks good before you go playing in the neighbor's yard. But I feel like, and I tell people all the time, I don't work with country songwriters. I just work with songwriters. They have a lot of success in the country market because we live in Nashville, Tennessee, but they're songwriters and they can do a lot of different things. And because not everyone who is a writer grew up listening to Merle Haggard,
Right.
And so one of the things I try to do in putting people together when they come from LA or London or whatever is just listen to what that person does who's coming to Nashville and how they do it. And then I look not only at our roster, but the entire music community in Nashville and say, who would be the best creative fit for that person? I don't think about their track record. I don't think about they've had this many hits or they've got a deal on this label. What's best for that writer coming to town? And there again, I've just found that if people are able and put in opportunities to do what they do best, they'll have a tremendous amount of success or can. That's where they give themselves the best opportunity. And one guy that I work with, that I've been working with, that I met just like that through our LA office is an artist on Warner Brothers named Shy Carter. And I just tried to put him in rooms where he could be shy and that somebody's not going to look at him like he has three eyes. And he's so creative and so good. And it just worked, and it didn't matter if it was sitting in a room with Billy Currington or Danny Goki. He was just able to use his skills as a writer and his feel for music and heart and passion in a way that helped them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, I can echo that. I got to write with him and James Slater actually a couple weeks ago, and he is on another planet talent-wise.
Yeah, right.
Such a great addition to your roster for sure.
Well, I just love it. He's just a great human being. I just love him a lot.
So good. What's something that you have learned over your years working in the music business that you wish your kind of younger self would have known when you were starting out?
Man, I don't know. I because I look back over my career and it's been like a dream. And with all of the challenges that have come with it, I don't know that I would change anything, because I've learned from every one of those challenges and those obstacles that were placed in front of me and how to overcome them. And, I guess if there was one thing I would do more, I would just dive into the people that came before me, the people that were here that built this Music Row, what we know as Music Row, and this songwriting community, and lean into them a little more than I did, especially on the other in the other areas outside of publishing, on the label side, on the artist side, on the management side. Boy, if I could go back and spend some time with them and learn from, Don Light and what he did and what he didn't do, or, those kinds of individuals, I think I feel like I would be better equipped today, because a lot of companies are turning into more entertainment companies, and you find yourself doing different things outside of, trying to pitch a song and get on a Tim McGraw record.
Sure.
So
yeah, that's well said. Well, we are coming up on our lightning round, but one thing I wanted to ask before we jump into that is, if there was one piece you would give to somebody wanting to become a songwriter or a music publisher for that matter, what would that be? Somebody who's starting out in the business.
Follow your heart, follow your gut, and don't be afraid to be on input. You do not have to know everything. No one does. And so learn as you go. Learn why you do things and what you do. Just be on input. Learn from your co-writers. Learn from your co-workers. Learn from those who came in front of you. I think a mistake that a lot of young people coming to town make is they want to impress you, and I write everything, and or I know everything, and there's no way you can know everything, so it already comes with a bit of, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
But
sure.
Anyway, that be on input as much as you can.
I love that. I've not heard it said that way, but that's really good. Stay on input. You ready for the lightning round?
All right, let's give it a go.
All right. What was your first concert?
Kenny Rogers, Keel Auditorium, St. Louis, Missouri.
Nice. What's your favorite TV show?
Boy, it's either Life Below Zero or, can I say Naked and Afraid? I don't know.
Sure. I've not seen either of those shows.
Oh my gosh, they're great. All of those off the grid things are amazing.
Is that kind of show, Life Below Zero?
Yeah, they're off the
Survivor
grid.
sort of style.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fair enough. You have your own late night talk show. Who do you invite on as your first guest?
I'd say Craig Wiseman.
That's a good answer. What's your favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
What would your perfect vacation look like?
Hawaii.
I was going to say, you're ready for it. That's awesome. Any favorite island on Hawaii?
The Big Island. My wife and I went there on our honeymoon, and
Nice.
and we try to go back as often as we can. We just love it.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
Very cool. We were trying to go to Hawaii this year, had our tickets booked and everything to Maui. One of my best friends lives in Maui. Of course, COVID hits and changes all of our plans.
Right. But they locked the whole place down.
That's the thing. We're texting once every other week saying, "Hey, is it still on lockdown? You got to be on like a 2-week quarantine."
Right.
And
it's crazy.
we'll wait till it settles down.
Yeah.
But, we are going to be doing a quick deep dive on the entrepreneurial side. You've started your own businesses in the music space in between stints at BMG. So if people, again, want to check out that deep dive with Chris Oglesby, madeitinmusic.com. But Chris, thank you so much for making time to be here with us today on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed every bit of it, and thanks for allowing me to relive some past experience. It's been good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. What's up? Thank you for watching the Made It in Music Podcast Season 3. If you want to check out any of the other episodes from Season 3, click up here. And we talk in the show about these really cool deep dives with all this extra bonus content. And if you want access to all of those, click here.